IWMA's attorneys to mainly ensure that we're protected in case anything happens. The overall site configuration still needs to have final approval, but currently the way it's designed is not going to interfere with any district operations now or in the foreseeable future. They may be limited on days or times that they can collect hazardous waste during our construction. They are aware of that. Essentially, this facility would be self-sufficient. They wouldn't require any staff operations. We would be able to take materials there, but we would not be responsible for the general operation or disposal of any. IWMA would be responsible entirely for the site and its maintenance and disposal and care of anything at the site and the persons entering or exiting the site. As has been discussed several times, but we can discuss again, the site is under the oversight of the county health department as well as the state under hazardous waste laws. So the IWMA contracts with Cleaner Earth to manage this. Cleaner Earth is essentially that's all they do is hazardous waste. So what we're asking for tonight is approval of the agreement between the district and IWMA. IWMA actually reviewed and approved this agreement at their meeting last week, I believe. Yeah, last week. Without any changes to what is shown here.
Okay. Are they going to be charging the public for disposing of hazardous waste?
No, it's free for anybody in the county. IWMA receives money from all trash services within the county. That part of that money goes to pay for this. So individuals or entities bringing hazardous waste to this facility would not be charged for bringing anything to the facility. Because we are so close to Monterey County, we have asked them to investigate some joint operation with Monterey County, because technically Monterey County should be paying into this facility if their Monterey occupants are coming in here. But as we all know, Monterey's right there. A lot of people come through town and would be using this facility presumably. But that would be up to IWMA on how they fund that. But as of right now, there's no indication that they would turn anybody away or charge anybody anything.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so they're collecting it and removing it from the site.
So their contractor, Cleaner Earth, would be the one that actually physically handles that material, packages it up in a manner that's safe for travel, and hauls it off. So the district would not be touching any of it to package it or ship it.
Okay. And it's strictly limited to household hazardous waste. We're not going to have industrial waste coming into San Miguel.
Right.
Predominantly old paint, oil.
Old paint, oil, batteries, various chemicals of small quantities. We're not taking industrial waste from. I guess somebody could bring some sort of small amount of industrial waste, but we're not taking waste at scale from commercial or industrial operations. That's not what this program is for.
They have to Cleaner Earth to turn them away that weren't acceptable.
Yes.
So, fair enough. Director?
Yeah, okay, so basically, this can come from the whole county, right? Anybody can bring waste in, is that correct?
Theoretically, anybody in the county could bring waste here. I don't know that somebody from Tacoma would bring waste all up here, but.
I brought my waste to Morro Bay. They didn't ask me for ID.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think we take in enough waste from the county,
Well, this would fill a need that this county and this area specifically has. There's a lot of a lot of paint, a lot of electronics, a lot of random chemicals that are just left on the alleys and on the side of the road because people don't have any way to dispose of them. You know, a good example of how programs like this really can flourish is the mattress program. We started taking mattresses just to get the few that are on the street off the street. And now right now we're going through, like every quarter we're going through probably 100 mattresses, maybe 150 mattresses. So it's providing a space that we can, with very little risk to the district, can take these things off the street, give somebody a place to take them. I can only imagine from a fire life safety perspective, not having garages cluttered up with paint cans and chemical cans and not having them on the side of the houses is better for the environment, better for fire safety, better for just personal safety for the people that live there. You know, I personally have a bunch of paint in my house because I didn't have anywhere to take it.
And they say you can take it back, but you really can't.
Yeah, they say you can take it back, but you really can't. You know, I understand your point, Director Davis, that San Miguel doesn't need to be a dumping ground for everybody's waste, but giving a safe, clean outlet for people to dispose of things like this, I think is beneficial to not only San Miguel, but the outlying areas, which just helps the overall aesthetic and value of San Miguel.
Are there any other entities within the county that do accept hazardous waste currently?
So in North County, Heritage Ranch accepts it, but you have to be a homeowner of Heritage Ranch. And Paso Landfill accepts it on a very limited basis. And Cold Canyon Landfill, I believe, takes it into Tuscany.
Morro Bay has one, but they're closing.
Morro Bay has one, but they're closing.
They're just closing it to move it somewhere else.
Close trailer, and lock it, so they get rid of it. It's done. Nothing counts.
It's very secure. It's all, as I mentioned before, it's managed by Environmental County, Environmental Health, and the state as far as how it's handled, how it's stored, and how it's transported. So they go to great lengths to protect it.
I did speak to Aaron Kardashian today, and our money does get, gives money for this kind of thing, and he's all for it, thinks it's great, and he's been working really hard to get us our funds that we spend on our garbage.
Yeah, I think having the option of not having people dump things into the river and the sewers, whatnot, seems like a good plan to me. Anything else?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, how about some public comment on this?
Gregory. I can speak to this because I personally have had to take mine to, I guess is it Tuscadero or Templeton?
Cold Canyon Landfill. That's Templeton.
Is that Templeton?
Templeton is Cascadero.
Yeah. So it is very, so there is hazardous waste here. What happens is, like having waste oil buckets, and then they crack, and then they leak. You don't even realize that they're doing that, and you gotta get another bucket and everything, and then you're waiting to take it to the landfill. If you drive through some of these alleys, you'll see puddles. It's not water. It's waste oil that is left on the ground. So unfortunately, it's here, it's in our community. It would be best if we would be able to collect it. I think it's awesome. It's wonderful. And for our community, again, to be one of the communities that care and to clean up the environment, this could be a wonderful PR move too, giving some education for our people who live here, and showing how much we do care for themselves and the environment and everything. So I see this as a win-win-win. I mean, I just absolutely, there's just, can't say enough about it. It's a wonderful thing. So I do appreciate more considering this very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. Mr. Bappin, us.
Opposed, I move that we adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Director Smiley, a second by Director Sangster.
Director Smiley?
Yes.
Director Davis?
No.
Director Sangster?
Yes.
Fails 2-1.
We'll be sure to let everyone know, like, failed.
Is there any other board discussion, or would you like to bring it back to a future meeting?
I would like to bring it back to a future meeting.
Would you like to bring it back as well?
Yes. I don't know why you would be against getting rid of hazardous waste. If somebody has to drive 10 miles or 15 miles to get rid of their waste, and it's in their garage because you put it in the garbage, cover it up with something, and dump it in the ground, they're gonna do it. You see that all the time along the road. It's just a good way of taking care of the problem. And letting the community know, protect your water source and not dumping this stuff into the ground.
Great. Move on to item number 6.
Yeah, 6.
Approve a contract with MBS Land Survey for survey work in an amount not to exceed $29,300 for the sewer lining and manhole rehabilitation project, and authorize the general manager to execute the contract.
So this is a contract, or proposed contract with MBS Land Survey that we have been working on the sewer lining and manhole rehabilitation project for the better part of a year with WSC. As part of that project, we're currently looking at alternatives to replace a section of sewer main that goes across 11th Street. As part of that, we need to gather additional survey data to determine whether some of the alternatives that have been proposed will actually be viable options. The proposal by MBS Land Survey encompasses everything that we need to determine whether those options are feasible and to develop a plan for the leading alternative. This is part of the CW, or Clean Water SRF grant that the district currently has for this planning project, and these funds would be reimbursable through that grant.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Questions, comments, Director?
Yeah, just one. I mean, this is all grant funded, right? And like I said, you already did a bunch of surveys on the manholes and so on.
So in the beginning of this particular project, we did surveying of all the manholes, all the manhole rims, or the top and the invert, which is the trough, to get a better idea of exact issues that we have with the overall system. So the entire system was essentially surveyed. However, what we're asking for right now is additional survey of the areas in between 11th Street and 15th Street along Mission Street and on N Street to get elevations of ground surface and other like storm drains and power lines and things that are in the ground that would be in conflict of a new gravity sewer being put down Mission Street or down N Street. Again, as I mentioned a minute ago, that one of the main concerns is the condition of the line going under 11th Street or under the railroad tracks at 11th Street. So this is to further determine whether or not some of the options that are being proposed are actually feasible. Once we have this information, then we can determine whether the options are feasible and move forward with one option to create a construction document so that it can go out to bid or be constructed.
Okay. And now, when you put that sewer line underneath the railroad tracks there, did you hook into one on the other side, or?
What do you mean?
Well,
We put one in on 16th Street.
yeah. No,
We put a water line in 11th Street.
When you went underneath the railroad tracks, what did you put in?
Just in the last few years, we went under the railroad tracks with the water line
Just
replacement.
water line?
About 15 years ago, we went under the railroad tracks with the sewer line at 16th Street.
Okay.
So the condition of the sewer main underneath the railroad tracks at 11th Street is our problem. So we're trying to look at ways to mitigate that because the cost to go down Mission Street is almost the same cost as going under the railroad tracks.
Yeah, I remember it was quite a project.
Oh yeah, it was kind of a nightmare. But we also need to, at some point, extend the line down Mission Street. So if we're going to already need that, then that is one of the leading alternatives to going under the railroad tracks.
The survey is going to encompass everything that's outlined in red on the drawing, on the aerial shot.
Yes. So each one of those separate rectangles or random shapes is an area that was identified through the surveys and videoing that need to be addressed. So the ones the little narrow rectangles are just alley sections that are in disrepair or have developed a belly in them that need to be either lined or replaced entirely.
Okay.
The section from essentially the Mission to 11th Street, that entire section from going along Mission Street from the Mission to 11th Street and under the railroad tracks has multiple problems that needs to be replaced. Which leads us to the next section, which is all the way along Mission Street back to 15th Street. That is an option to not going under the railroad tracks. You see it's kind of cut across 14th Street also. Although it does not appear that that would be a good option for us, we're surveying it to see if that would be a good option to go across 14th Street instead of taking it all the way down to 15th Street. But you have the same problem at 14th Street, you have it at 11th Street, that the cost to go into the railroad tracks is just astronomical.
Okay. Questions or comments, Joe? Questions or comments?
No, I just looked at this Mission Street, trying to figure out. So we're talking about trying to get a sewer line, the full length of Mission Street, or from what, 14th to 16th?
So if we're able to find an alternate route instead of going under the railroad tracks at 11th Street,
Yeah.
one of the options is to take that same line and go from 11th Street all the way down to 15th Street. Based on the information we have right now, there is enough fall between the 2 points that we can make that work. But without having the additional infrastructure survey, we don't know if something else is in the way.
Well, I was just thinking, maybe one of these days that may be developed.
It's very possible that we get through the design of the sewer line going down Mission Street, and
Yeah.
it coincides with the development of
Right.
Mission Street, and then the developer can pay for that section.
Yeah.
Or we put it in under a grant or something, and then if it's under a grant, they wouldn't have to pay anything, but if we pay out of pocket for it, then they would have to reimburse us for their section of that line.
But they'll have to pay to tie into it, right?
Well, they have to pay to tie into it one way or the other.
Yeah, right, okay, I got you.
If for some reason we put it in, then it just saves them a little bit of cost of putting it in.
Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, back to us.
I move that we adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Director Smiley, second by Director Davis. Roll call, please.
Yes. Director Davis.
Yes.
Director Smiley.
Yes.
Director Sangster.
Yes.
Passes 3. 1 absent.
Okay, moving on to item number 7. Authorize the general manager to negotiate and purchase 2 20-yard dewatering roll-off containers in an amount not to exceed $48,000, including fund transfer and budget adjustment to be funded by wastewater capital funds.
So the request is to authorize me to negotiate for the purchase of 2 dewatering roll-offs. In the board packet on page 50 is an example of what we'd be purchasing. Right now, we're working out the details of what exactly, how high it can be to fit within the parameters of the sludge handling system of the Placina plant we're purchasing. The preliminary pricing that I've gotten is at most $44,870. Based on minor changes, it might go up a little bit, which is the request for $48,000. However, the $48,000 is for both units, it's not individual.
And you say these are companion items that will work in conjunction with the MER?
So initially, if approved tonight, then we'll order it and they'll be available for the desludging of the ponds. But long-term, they will become part of the treatment plant, sludge handling, which it'll go through the sludge management and press and go into this. It'll be stored in this for a week or two while the samples or testing is done, and then be taken in this container to the landfill. And we'll have 2 of them so that we can rotate them back and forth because the pressing process is essentially the other process.
So if we're using our equipment, will it reduce our cost with the company that's desludging the ponds?
It could reduce the cost to that contractor.
Well,
That has not been broached with them, but we can definitely broach that with them.
well, let's say if we're providing the equipment, then they should provide a reduction in cost. Otherwise, they can use their equipment. Okay. I can comment. Questions? Questions?
I think it's good, but like I said, the question is, now, when we dewater the solids and everything and put it in here, after they put it through the squeeze and everything, then, well, 20 yards, that's a trip to the dump.
So it won't be full, so it won't be a full 20 yards. The sludge is very heavy. So you probably get maybe 12, 14 yards. But the purpose of these is that it gives you extra dewatering capability. So if you're looking at the picture, there's sort of a mesh framework in there.
Yeah, I see that.
That'll allow it to dewater, and then the water can be evacuated through the port at the back. But yeah,
So the water go.
so they'll go back to the pond, or back, like, in the big picture, long-term, look, it'll go back, it'll leave there and go into a floor drain, and it'll go back to the lift station and be reprocessed.
Okay.
And in the short term, it'll just be drained back to the pond.
Got it. And how would these go to the dump?
So San Diego Garbage has agreed to take them to the dump for us. We pay an hourly trucking cost, which is pretty minimal.
Okay.
Plus dumping fee.
Yeah, but we're responsible for that anyway.
Yeah, I know. Let's see, we paid $35,000 to, I don't know how often it was, but
No, that was for one time.
yeah,
It was $35,000 for, I forget how many times, but it was a lot.
yeah.
And these will be in use with the new plant as well.
Yes. And this is something that we have to purchase that does not come with the plant. We would have to purchase it.
Service life to these things or?
In service at our plant, probably 20 to 30 years.
Okay.
These are specifically made for this type of service. So they are coated with a coating that is resistant to wear and chemical erosion. They're, as you can probably see from the pictures, they're designed to be watertight so that they're not leaking on the ground. So I would anticipate in our general use, if they're taken care of properly, that the last is probably 20 to 30 years.
available for delivery now?
I asked yesterday about that. They said it'd be about 4 to 5 weeks. They build them to order, but they said right now they're looking at 4 to 5 weeks to have it delivered. Did run this by Aaron at San Miguel Garbage. He's actually the one that turned me onto these in the first place. But they have no problem transporting these, and their standard equipment on these is compatible with all the garbage company's equipment. So.
Okay. Anything else for you, Director?
No, I was just looking at the doors, because they gotta be done.
So this particular model, it has one large door, so they would back up to wherever in the landfill, swing the door all the way open, and then just dump it out like an endo.
Okay.
Will there be public comment on this item? Nope. Okay. Would like to make a motion?
Make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Motion by Director Smiley, second by Director Davis.
Director Smiley?
Yes.
Director Davis?
Yes.
Director Sangster?
Yes.
Passes 3, 1 absent.
Okay. We're now at the board comment in section 3. Anybody have any board comment?
Director Davis, you said you had something you wanted to have before coming.
I know oh, yes, I do. Yeah. No, I'd like some clarification on love letters to me that were sent and read, and the people weren't even from the district, and that needs to be changed. I don't care what anybody's commenting is, but it needs to be verified that they're from the district.
So if you want to do that, then we'll need to change the board handbook. Because what we're doing right now is that all you're required to do is, 1, say you want it to be read aloud, 2, identify what item you want it to be at, and what your name is, and whether you're a resident or not.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm
Not being a resident doesn't preclude you from having your comment read. If the board wants to do that, then we can definitely bring the board handbook back, so that comments that are not from residents are not read. They are all public comments, so they are all available as public comments.
Right. Well, like I said, I mean, I know where some of these love letters came from. You know.
Well, don't shoot me, I'm just the guy that
Not
got
hard to
it.
figure out, but it should be verified that they live within the district.
Well, we can definitely bring the board handbook back if that's.
Gray wall's gonna be bad.
No, you know, right, he comes, no, I'm not stopping that. I'm just, you know, they can come here from Timbuktu if they want, as long as they're speaking, but these letters, they get pretty nasty.
I know.
Yeah.
I gotta read it.
Yeah,
So if you want to see that on a future agenda, we can definitely do that.
yeah, I would like to see that. Like I said, I don't have anything at all about, letters being read. So, I mean, I don't care what their comment is either, but we need to verify that they live within the district.
You need another one.
Huh?
So for clarification, you're asking for us to verify their location, or that you don't want to read public comment that is not from a resident?
Yes.
Because we don't really have a way to verify somebody's address because we're not currently asking for their address. So all we're asking for, and all this is in the policy, it says that either you state you're a resident or a non-resident.
Right.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you want to not read non-resident public comment.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another board member.
So if we have support for that, we can bring that back.
Okay.
Do we have support for that?
Sure.
Okay.
Put it on the list.
I have legal concerns that when this comes back, I will let you know.
Sure you
okay.
will.
I'm concerned if you're not allowing letters to be read, and you have people coming here from without that don't live here. What's the difference? And you're allowing them to speak, but not, the whole idea was the letter was instead of somebody having to come here. So that's my concern. So you're not gonna let these people speak, but you don't let those people speak. I don't think that's right.
I agree.
I don't think
I'm
that's
happy to
right.
bring it back for discussion.
Yeah, bring it back for the discussion.
We'll bring it back at a future meeting. Any other board comment?
Nothing from me.
No, I don't mind a face-to-face meeting with somebody, but when you get these love letters, it's wrong, and you don't even know who they came from. So.
We do, that's okay. Anything?
Oh, yeah, we know.
Any other board comment?
No, that's fine.
Okay, we're adjourned,
Time?
8:03.
Thank you.